What is up, my loves? What is up, Warrior family? Welcome back to Warrior Bride Royalty. I am Dr. G. Thank you for coming to hang out with the Queen. Listen, baby, you are now tuning in to Testimony Tuesdays. I'm going to be sharing with you all a brief message about how the Lord reconnected me back to my biological family. Now, my faithful family already knows that I'm adopted. I was put up for adoption at 4 months old and officially adopted by the age of 5. And now my upbringing in Brooklyn, New York was amazing. It was phenomenal. It was full of the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, beautiful moments, chaotic moments, love and dysfunction at the same time. But ultimately, it was all Jesus. My biological family, for those of you who do not know, they were unfit. They had their own trauma, their own issues going on, and they really just come from a background of poverty and abuse. And so they weren't able to get themselves in order to take care of me or my sister. I found out since then that I also have a little brother, but at the time of my adoption, I was only aware of my little sister. So here's the scoop, here's the story. Okay, let me give you a backdrop. When I was younger, I used to go to the agency in Manhattan because that's where I was born. And I would see my biological mother. My father wasn't present, so I would only see my biological mother, and my little sister would come and visit us as well. So we would all be there. We would eat lunch together. We would talk. My mother got a chance to, I guess, change some of our diapers and play with us. And then it was time for us to go, right? My mother always said that she never wanted to give us up. She wanted to keep her children, but she, again, just wasn't able to. I used to write my little sister when we were younger. So we used to send each other letters and we used to talk on the phone a few times throughout the week. But that did not happen for a long period of time. It probably only occurred for about a year, first year of our adoption, because she ended up going to the Bronx, being adopted to a lady that lived in the Bronx. And we tried to keep in contact for as long as we could. But again, that ended up breaking down. So we didn't have that communication. And so I've been working since I was 14 years old. I had my first summer youth job at a daycare and then an early childhood school. At the early childhood school, I meet this girl who becomes a catalyst to how I meet my biological family. Her and I, we eating Chinese food, I believe, sitting on like the outside area of that facility. And I tell her about my adoption story because we were like building a relationship, a friendship, her getting to know me, me getting to know her. And I tell her about my adoption story. And I thought nothing of it, you know? And I definitely didn't think she would think anything of it. Over the years, her and I lost contact. We did not speak to each other consistently. She followed me on social media. I think we were friends on Facebook and Instagram for some time. But again, we did not speak to each other. We didn't communicate to one another, not even liking each other's posts or commenting on anything. It was just, we were there, right? Fast forward now, back to me being 15 or 16 years old and me desiring a connection with my biological sister. I was like curious to know where she was. So I ended up calling the adoption agency and seeing if there was any information I could get. And there was the lady at the agency who actually called us and gave my mother the number and the previous address of where my sister was. We go there. It's in the Bronx. So it's me, my mother, my aunt, and my cousin. We get to the floor and we're knocking, we're knocking, we're knocking. Nobody's answering the door. So we like, oh man, nobody's home. You know, and you kind of feel sad. You feel like, ugh. So her neighbor comes out because she hears us knocking and just talking in the hallway about everything. And she tells us that my sister's adopted mother got ill. She fell ill, she was sick, and so she ended up going to the hospital and staying with one of her caregivers. I think her child ended up being a caregiver for her. And then my sister ended up going to be in the streets, and I guess she was going from house to house. She had a season of homelessness, and so she met her husband. We never got to meet, and I was like, wow, okay, cool. Let it go, Rory family. Did not think anything about it anymore. Like I legit moved on with my life. You know, it was like that part of my life never happened. I graduated high school. went to college. I left home when I was 18 years old. I started with my associate's degree, pursuing that, got that. Then I went to Buffalo, got my bachelor's, got my master's, thought nothing of it, living my best, blessed life. Okay, boom. I'm planning to relocate. Just enrolled into my doctoral program because I'm like, I'm gonna be a professor. Okay. I want to be a teacher. I want to educate the people. So I was like, let me get this doctoral degree. I'm gonna enroll in my doctoral program. Cool. I'm about to move. I'm ready to relocate. God is calling me to Atlanta. So we about to move to Georgia. All right. My cousin is on board. My best friends are on board. Everybody driving up to Buffalo to meet me so they could take me. Like we're making these plans to get up out of here. Don't you that before that major life transition occurred for me, Royal family, before God was going to relocate me, before God was going to allow me to graduate from my doctoral program, before God was going to put me into ministry, this man allowed that girl who worked at my summer youth program to reach out to me on Instagram. She sent me a message, and I wish I was still on Instagram so I could actually show y'all. Um, baby, baby. She sends me a message on Instagram randomly, and she's like, "Do you know this lady? She looks just like you. And I thought of you." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I look at her picture, Royal family, and I saw her nose. Cause do y'all see my nose? This nose, uniquely defined. Okay. Um, I saw her nose, I saw her baby face, I saw her cheeks. I saw myself. I seen myself in this woman. And I knew her name. I said, "What's her name?" That was like my first response to her. I said, "What's her name?" And she said, "Monique." And I was like, "Oh my goodness." I knew that that was my mother, but I didn't want to feed into that. Again, I have not spoken to this girl in mad years, so many years. And then, of course, I did not speak to my biological mother for so many years. So I hit up my adopted mother, who's in New York City still, and I sent her a picture, and I'm like, "I just got this message on IG. Um, does this face look familiar to you?" Because she had to go back and forth to court with her. She knew what my biological mother looked like. Y'all was talking. I don't really remember. I was a baby. Okay. So you confirm to me if you know this face. My adopted mother, excuse me. She said, "Nah, I don't know her. Her face doesn't look familiar." Moving forward, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm about to move. Why is this coming up right now? My life is good. I don't have time for nothing crazy." Okay. I didn't know what to think about the whole reconnection, reconciliation. I didn't know what to expect, but the girl who was the catalyst of us meeting and reconnecting, she was like, "You know what?" Because I called her on the phone and started talking to her after that. And she's like, "If you're going to do it, just do it now. Like, if you're going to meet her or talk to them, the best time to do it is now before you go. You don't want to have to worry about what ifs, what ifs, what ifs." And I was just like, "You know what? I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to press into that." It was such an overwhelming time for your family. It's so overwhelming. But it was beautiful, to say the least. It was friendship, it was love, it was joy. I mean, we all met each other. I met them about 4 times in person, and we were eating good food, listening to music, laughing. They were getting to know my people, like my cousin, my best friends, and we were learning about each other all of the years that we had missed out on, right? We were learning about each other. Me meeting my biological father, phenomenal, just to see like who he was because I never saw him before. I never even spoke to him on the phone prior to that moment. And I was like, wow. And then me also meeting my biological little brother. He was preparing to go to the Navy at that time, and he had his girlfriend, and I think they got married and they ended up having a baby, which was so phenomenal. I'm like, "Oh, look at them." Like everybody was just so grown. I have 3 nephews. My sister is married, and she had 3 beautiful boys, and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness, like look at all of this." Right? So it was a fun time. I met my biological mother first at Shake Shack, and we ate food. My cousin and my best friend was there, but they didn't sit at the table with us. After that, I met my biological sister. My mother came and my father came. And then after that, we met my brother with the cousin that he was staying with because he ended up being put up for adoption as well. And then we all met again in New York City for my mother. Right after she had turned ill, we met again, my sister and my biological brother. A ton of information coming at me at once. So it was a lot. It was overwhelming in a good way. I remember being very emotional during that time, crying and just thinking about what does this all mean, God? What does this all mean? And long story short, although we weren't able to stay connected long term, it was definitely a great experience that moment because I believe that our Father is a Father of legacy, and if we are going to create any legacy, He wants us to definitely be aware of where we come from, our roots, who we are, what's on our bloodline, what contributes to who we are, our makeup, right? And my adoption story, all of that eventually, once I got closer in a relationship with the Lord, I learned that it doesn't even matter because I have been readopted. I have been adopted into his family, into the royal bloodline. And I'm no longer an orphan. I don't have an orphan spirit. I don't have to be in the world feeling lost or abandoned or rejected. I have God to depend on, to lean on as my Abba, my Father. And he literally is just everything for me. So, yes, that reconciliation, that moment of restoration with my biological family at the perfect timing, like right before my life transformed for the better, for the greater, me moving to Atlanta and then everything being on the up and up with my walk with Jesus. What God did in that moment is He gave me clarity. He taught me how to extend forgiveness, how to show grace. I literally had to exercise the fruit of the Spirit and demonstrate the character of the Lord because my sister, my biological sister, she was holding so much anger and so much resentment towards my parents still in that moment of us reconciling. And rightfully so, she has every reason to be upset or to feel neglected and misunderstood and without support. But God, to see, and not even on no comparison, but just to see the work, the amount of healing He had done in me over the course of the years before I even had that encounter with them. I was at a place where I didn't allow that experience to taint my energy or to make me feel less than and worried and angry and resentful. I was grateful. I was seeing the opportunity and the possibilities in that reconnection. I was like, wow, I get to learn about myself. And although I'm resistant and reserved and I don't really trust y'all because I don't know y'all, I do feel the need to connect to you all and show love and show Jesus to y'all and pray. I would pray on the phone with them. I would minister to them, and it was amazing. It was phenomenal, and I just knew that Jesus' hand was all over that moment. And unfortunately, we were not able to stay in connection with one another just because when you're adopted and you've lived your life without people, they're technically like strangers to you. And it takes investment on both people's and on both parts in order to build a relationship, a secure relationship. And I just don't believe that everyone involved in the story had the capacity to build a strong, healthy relationship. And of course, with what the Lord has done in my life, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, I was not going to allow anyone to make me regress, make me go back to being someone that God had already elevated me from. God had already healed me from a certain version of myself. And so anytime I'm triggered or anytime I feel that people are trying to bring out a version of me that no longer exists, I get away from them quick, fast, and in a hurry. Because I just know God. I know God is not going to be sending me anybody who I can't trust. God is not going to be sending me anyone who leads me into temptation. God is not going to be sending me anyone who desires that I sin or live a sinful life. So, yes, that is my story. That is it for now. I will let you all go. I love you all. I will see you soon in the next video. Later. The part of this story that's the most supernatural in all Jesus was, how did that girl who I worked with at 14 years old look at my biological mother and say, I see Brittany's face in her face. Let me reach out to Brittany. Although we have not interacted, we have not spoken or seen each other in so many years. She saw that lady who was a complete stranger to her, and she said, I see Brittany's face. I remember Brittany said she was adopted. Let me see if this is her mother. How did she think to put two and two together like that? That was Jesus. That was not, that was God. That was God putting me on that girl's heart.